Emon here. I've got a pretty serious topic for you today, one that means a lot to me, and that is that a lot of you have been really getting your butts kicked by failed intercepts. And so I wanted to reach out, provide a video of some tips and tricks that I've been able to use and that I think will help to reduce the risk that you're taking when you are doing those intercepts. So I've got a video that I spliced together here, just kind of some examples of this particular type of intercept. First of all, if you haven't seen Dorky Diggedy Dave's video on intercepts, I think you should go check that out, definitely. This is kind of a variation on one of the ones that he introduced, which was called the Come At Me Bro intercept. But in this case it's a little bit different because we are, in my opinion, what we're doing is we're actually drawing out the opponent so that we can kind of set the stakes. So I'm just going to watch this along with you here and just kind of describe what's going on and see if we can get a handle on it. I think my favorite thing about this version of the intercept is that, like I said before, it reduces a lot of that risk. And so when you're in a high stakes place like Labyrinth, for example, you really need to reduce the risk as much as you can. And so in this case, we are setting it up in a way that basically gives us a better outcome in the end. So let's take a look at the breakdown here. The first thing you want to do is create a lot of space between you and the opponent. Usually what this means is you dash backwards and the opponent dashes backwards. I call this part the setup. You just want to back off. Okay, and then once you've created enough space, just remember, don't touch anything. Don't touch the controls. Drop your block and just kind of wait. And when you do that, your champion is going to start to move forward. This is the part that I call the approach. It's pretty simple. There's not much to it, and there's really not much time to it either. It's going to happen in less than a second, most likely. But you'll get the timing right. But the idea is, let off the controls, let your champion start to move forward, and then you move to step 3, which is you pull the trigger. And this is just, you swipe right. And it's a lot like when you parry. You want to get the timing just right and tap that parry, but in this case, instead of hitting parry, you're going to swipe it to the right. So I think really what puts this intercept above the rest as far as risk management is that we're backing off all the way, and it's the setup that really gives us what we're looking for, which is that safety of what's going to happen when I decide to commit to this intercept. Let's run through it one more time, slow motion but without stopping. Okay, so you back off, do the setup, create the space, let off the controls, start to move forward a little bit, and then immediately pull the trigger. Okay, so in this situation you see, a successful intercept. But what I like about this is that even on an unsuccessful intercept, we've got 3 options. The opponent could, they could dash forward at you, but in that case, you pulled the trigger most likely after they did, so you're going to make contact. They could block. So if they block, no big deal. You're going to hit them, a couple times and maybe even build up their power meter. Or they could dash backwards, and if they dash backwards, that's actually not a big deal either, because with this intercept, you're going to end up making contact with them as they're dashing backwards. They're not going to have time to get back at you. One warning to take a look at first is that, in this example, I created that space, kind of got a little bit antsy to get going on it, and I forgot about the L1. So you really want to make sure you're drawing out those specials from your opponent before you decide to commit to this intercept. Otherwise, you can do it, but you're going to be bringing in that aspect of risk, and that's what we want to do away with. So hopefully with that explanation, that's enough to kind of get you started doing this on your own. But take a look at kind of some of the examples that I've got here in Labyrinth against Red Hulk. He's perfect to kind of practice this on. And what I really like about Labyrinth and this intercept is that the opponents in Labyrinth seem to always want to evade, especially when you evade. So it just makes it really easy to start the setup. You both set up, you create a lot of that space, and then you can go ahead and approach and pull that trigger whenever you need to. So here's where I was just playing around, and it just so happened that I took a big hit, and now I'm at basically 0 health. And this is where it really gets useful, is you can't block, you just need to intercept. That's the only way that you can transition other than drawing out the specials. So you can see here that mixing the intercepts with drawing out the specials, it's pretty easy to last 100 plus hits. Of course you want to get up to 200 or 300 hits, but in this case we're talking, what do you do when you're on your last leg? You've got a sliver of health left. So with that sliver of health, I was able to, just messing around, able to get up to about 100 hits. So that's pretty much it for this tip. Hopefully that gave you something new to think about when you go into these high stakes fights. If you learned something, go ahead and hit subscribe, and hopefully here in the next couple weeks you guys can join me for my live stream of Path 6 in Labyrinth. Thanks guys, bye.